Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the train. My name is John Durrant, and this evening I have with me Becs Waterfield.
Hello.
Hello, Becs. Becs has kindly stepped in for us because we've had a couple of people who've had problems and missed the train.
How rude.
How rude. So Becs ran down the platform and jumped on, which was absolutely great. Now, what I want to do this week, what I was going to do this week was look at the difference between when things can get put into your head, I suggested to you, like with NLP,
Okay.
and when things are just fall into place. And what I was going to look at was where these two things join or don't join. However, having you here, Becs, is really great because it means that I can spend a little bit of time with you, just putting together what we've learned over the past few weeks with some of the people who've had some quite specific ideas on what they do and what they don't do. And it's quite interesting to look at somebody who's got quite an open mind. Tell me a little bit, because you were telling me earlier on a little bit about yourself and about what you do and don't do, but tell me a little bit about how you were brought up, because that was interesting.
So I was brought up spiritualist. My gran was a spiritualist. She was, I can't remember if she was secretary or president of a spiritualist church back in the northeast. And both her and my mum spent time on the rostrum as well. Gran's no longer with us, she passed.
Let's just explain that when we say on the rostrum.
On the rostrum in church, yes.
Mediums go on the rostrum on stage and demonstrate their mediumship.
Yes.
And when we talk about a medium, we're talking about somebody who is in between this world and the next world. So they are the person who is actually talking to the dead people.
Yeah.
Yeah?
That's the one, indeed, yeah. So yeah, both my mum and my gran before both had that gift.
I'm glad your gran came before your mum.
Yeah, it's usually quite handy. But I would have been all very awkward. So yeah, that's how we were brought up. I used to go to church with them now and again. I don't go to church as much as I should. I know that.
Do you think you need to go to church to actually be a spiritualist?
No. I don't think so. I think I think that's the same with any religion. I don't think you necessarily have to go to church. I think you can worship and you can practice the beliefs and the values that are instilled in you wherever you are. And you should do it wherever you are, because otherwise you're a bit of a hypocrite, really.
Yeah.
But it's nice. It's a nice community. I enjoy taking people to church with me, so they experience, particularly kind of the naysayers, and spiritualism is as you'll know, it's a very divisive thing. People either they get it or they don't get it. There tends not to be an in-between.
It's not just divisive. One of the things that we've actually discussed on the train, we have in actual fact discussed things like some people have a real connection with spirits, with dead people, and some people have a connection with the energy which is around a live person. Now for me, when you're connecting with the energy around a living person, you're talking about something which is psychic. And when you're actually connecting with somebody who's dead, you're talking about something which is spiritual. I'm saying that just so that it gives a definition to the difference between the two. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Some people see it differently, but that's the way I think it is.
Yeah.
But one of the things that brings up, and one of the things that we end up looking at with that is if you pick up energy around people. Now that energy can be used in a number of different ways. And also the way you affect people, the way people think, the way they talk, the way they speak. So that you said earlier on, we were talking about NLP. What was it you said about when you're meeting somebody? How you should ask them?
So I'm not trained in NLP. In a past profession that we did, we were given very basics on NLP and just certain bits of language, and that your brain doesn't necessarily recognise positives and negatives. So if you're arranging to meet somebody, say we were going for a drink tonight at 8 o'clock.
Oh, that's kind of me. Thank you very much.
Right. You're buying.
Okay, fair enough.
Excellent. Well, that worked well. So I should not say to you, don't forget we're meeting at 8 o'clock, because your brain won't recognise don't, and what you hear subconsciously is forget we're meeting at 8 o'clock.
Right.
So just say, you know, we're meeting at 8, or remember we're meeting at 8,
Okay.
and do it more in the positive sense.
Right. So we're looking at positive things.
Yeah.
Right. Because this is one of the other things we've looked at with energy and things which are around people. Now then, if that's the case, do you think, and I'm asking you as not as an expert in NLP or anything else, because that's what I'm interested in is I was going to say the layman, but that doesn't sound right somehow. Because if somebody suggests something to you, like if you hold this crystal, it will make you feel better. And if they do that in the right way, do you think it's the crystal or what's going on in your head?
See, it's like the placebo effect in drugs, isn't it? It's a really, really tough one. I don't know. I've got a couple of crystals. I can't say that they necessarily have made me feel any different when I've held them or I've rubbed them, anything like that.
I'm going to make a note here. We want somebody who does crystals on the train.
Yes, that would be brilliant.
It would be.
I think to a degree there is an element of suggestion in it, and if we look at, say, the Spiritualist Church itself, and if you go, maybe not the Spiritualist Church, but if you look at mediums and the bad rep that mediums get, and that's through more kind of fortune, and some of this is fortune teller stuff, and it's guesswork. But if you go to, or at least the Spiritualist churches that I've been to, the mediums who are up there on the rostrum delivering these messages, they will not lead you, and you can't lead them. All they want you to say is yes, no, thank you. A lot of time they might not even come to you directly. It'll be, can anyone take, or can I place this with you, or can anyone, you know.
I had an experience just a couple of weeks ago where it wasn't in a church, it was just in a group, meeting in a hall, and there was a lady there giving messages. In actual fact, it was Wendy Rothman from the SNU Church in Dolby Street. And Wendy said, I've got a gentleman here and he's looking quite smart, he's shirt and tie on, and he's wearing, I said, I'm not quite sure who this is with. Actually, he's wearing a pink suit. Oh, I know exactly who that is. John, this is with you. And I thought, hang on a minute. A very old friend of mine who just loved his pink suit. He had a beautiful pink suit and a pink fedora hat, and he wore them. And he appeared to her like that.
Yeah.
And then he went straight to me. But he had a sense of humour. So the way she presented it made it funny for everybody, because that was the way he would have presented it.
Yeah.
Now that for me is quite different to when somebody knows everything about you and makes a suggestion to you, and you think to yourself, well, yeah, that could be me. Yeah.
And they kind of get you to feed them lines like, oh, I've got this gentleman, and oh yeah, that's my granddad. And it's like, yes, I was coming to that, it's your granddad. Whereas the mediums who, or the ones who are worth anything, who really do their trade, if you like, really well, will go, well, don't tell me that, I'm going to tell you. And it's that demonstration. So there's no leading, and there's no ambiguity there for it. But yes, definitely, there are ways in which you can lead a person, particularly if they're in a vulnerable position, which a lot of people, particularly who go to a spiritualist church for the first time, are in that position because they're just seeking some comfort because someone they love's passed, and they desperately just want some contact.
And one of the things that, if you have anything to do with any training courses or anything involved in business these days, it's all about body language, it's all about use of words and use of language. And something like 80% of communication is non-verbal. And you could pick that up, like I'm watching you now, and you're nodding at me and smiling, I'm going, okay, we're doing all right here. And as soon as you start to not nod and smile, I'm going, oh, But it's a lot of what we communicate is non-verbal. Now then, I put something else into that. I want your opinion, your view. Because one of the other things that's come out of these train journeys and meeting with these people and talking about stuff has been the fact that we pick up on people's energy. You can walk into a room and you know there's been an argument.
Oh, can't you? Isn't that awful? Isn't
What's
it awful?
awful?
Because I don't know, I think I'm like a Dementor from Harry Potter, and I like suck that energy in. No, I do feel like I absorb other
God, it's
people's
not like it's a
energy.
child. Oh.
Yeah. But I feel like I take on board other people's energy, so if I walk in, I can sense that bad atmosphere. I kind of get a little bit.
Can I put
aggravated.
something to you the other way round?
Yeah.
Okay, it's very interesting you should say that. You walk into a room and there's been a bit of an argument, you get a bit agitated. Yes? You just pick it up on the agitation in the room. Bex, if I said to you, the little that I know you, when you walk into a room, when you got on the train, it lit up. Because you smile. Because you're happy. So you're not necessarily absorbing that energy. You perhaps may be equating with that energy, coming to terms with that energy, but you're certainly not sucking it in.
Possibly.
Yeah? You are perhaps giving it out.
I try to.
But when you find that when you walk out of a room where everybody's happy and everything's you feel energised when you walk out.
Definitely.
You walk away, and I wish these people wouldn't keep walking up and down the train and slamming the doors, would you? But then you find that
On the train.
on the train,
Choo choo, off you go.
you find out people are energised if you walk out of a room where people, you yourself feel energised. Now, I don't know where that comes from. I don't know how that works. I'd love to know how that works.
I think a lot of it is everything's about energy. That's all we are really, apart from the skin and bone that's on top of it. It's all energy, and that's what the whole kind of
The skin and
spiritual
bone that's on top of it, if you think about it, it's all made up of molecules that are all flying about all over the place and bumping into each other. They don't bump into each other. They're all flying about all over the place, and they actually are energy. I had an extremely interesting discussion, which if people go to Spiritual Connection on YouTube, they'll find this discussion on there. I had a very interesting discussion with somebody where we were talking about energy and how you could make things more attractive and get on better with people, and how you could be more energised and more positive. And what we were likening it to was a magnet.
Yeah.
And a magnet is basically just a piece of iron where all the molecules in it all go in the same direction. And they all face north-south. So you get a magnet and it's north-south, yin, yang. And you get the flow around between the yin, the yang, the north and the south. And those energies, if you could take a person and energise them, magnetise them the way you magnetise a piece of iron, we could all have that energy.
Imagine what a world it would be.
I can't.
It'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but the thing is, there are those people who say that they can sit in the quiet, which is meditation, and you were saying that you just started doing this.
I struggle.
Go on.
I struggle with my inner chimp. Those of you who've done the chimp paradox, his name's Boris. Boris is in control of my life quite a bit, which is the wrong way to be. I've kind of embraced him, but I'm getting old, and I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking, do you know what, I think maybe he just needs to go and have a little nap occasionally. So I'm trying to kind of calm him a bit and still myself, I suffer a bit with anxiety and nerves and what have you, so I'm trying to meditate, and I struggle with it. I'm persevering. It's part of my morning routine now.
Is his surname Johnson by any chance? Perhaps he's just trying to get away with you. Perhaps it's a Brexit rather than. Oh. So I go along this inner chimp. People talk about their inner chimp, but in actual fact, what we're talking about is what's going on inside
It's
you.
your emotion.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up emotion. How do you see emotion? As you are looking at your inner chimp.
As I look at my inner chin. Probably a little bit more scientific, because I've read a couple of books that kind of study it. A guy called Simon Sinek, who has written a book called Stop Why, and he talks about the two aspects, in very simplistic terms. Your brain's made up of all different parts, but he splits it into two, and it's the limbic, which is, and that's kind of your chimp. That's the bit that's your gut feeling. it's that instant reaction when something happens and you automatically go mental or laugh or cry or it's your fear or flight or freeze kind of thing. And so the whole thing with Chimp Paradox and the inner chimp is about taking that, you know, when people say just count to 10.
Yeah.
And then react. Don't send that email. Don't make that phone call. Don't say what you really want to say. Have a minute. Not even a minute. Just have 10 seconds.
Just step back.
Yeah. And think, is this going to matter in 5 months, 5 years? Realistically, not much stuff is. And then make it. So it's that gut reaction. And I'm really bad at being controlled by that. I quite like it in a way. I quite like our Boris.
So you quite like not being controlled?
Yeah. Do you know what it is? It's because the line of work that I'm in now and everything that I've done, everything was kind of in a time constraint and everything had to be quite, you know, things have to be done a certain way and there's expectations and what have you. So I kind of like, no, I'm not doing that, so I take my watch, I just do what I want, and then someone can say that, and I can go rock. And it's not good for you, because your whole sense of balance and well-being goes out of the window, particularly if your instant reaction's quite an aggressive, narky one.
There are, what kind of people then do you like to be around? Do you like to be around people who do things off the cuff, or do you like to be around people who are organised?
Oh, see, now, here's the thing. I'm such a contradiction, because I like an element of spontaneity, but it's kind of planned spontaneity.
Okay.
So, take for example a night out. I work in events, so I know exactly, if I'm running an event, I know exactly what's going to happen at any given time, and woe betide anything that tries to knock that off.
Event.
Yeah. So when it comes to kind of downtime and what I'm doing, I don't like to be as prescribed by it. So a lot of times they find it funny when we go out for a night out, because I won't be the one that'll organise it for a start. But I just say, right, 7 o'clock, Rigby's in town. And then where? I don't care.
And we're not advertising Rigby's, by the way.
No, already the bar that we want to go to. So it'll be, you know, whatever time at this specific place. And then where we go, I don't know. So I've got the starting point, and then I kind of like that little bit of adventure. So there's an element, and I couldn't cope with someone who just kind of rocks up at your house and knocks on the door.
This has moved. You couldn't.
No, don't do that.
I won't answer. Right, so this has moved rather away from
Should we go back?
where we were. However, the thing about it is that, yes, it has moved away a little from talking about religion and talking about spiritualism and so on and so forth, but this is still about energy, it's still about people, it's still the way different people react in different ways, and that energy that they've got is picked up in different ways. So, for example, if you are an organised, like a place for everything and everything is a place type of person when you're here, are you going to carry that with you when you die? Is that your energy? If you're the kind of person who's like all over the place when you're here, are you going to carry that with you when you die? I mean, I saw a cartoon recently which was really good. It was a family room, and there were older people and younger people and children, and they were all meeting and they were all talking and saying hello and having a cup of coffee or a drink or whatever else it may be. And underneath it just said artist's impression of heaven. And it was just everybody there together. But the personalities hadn't changed.
And I don't think they do. And just from experience of the messages that I've had from my granny and granddad, they're still the same.
And what's that?
Granddad had a wicked sense of humour, mischievous, troublemaker. Best example I can give, and it was a private reading that I had, and the poor guy was traumatised because he'd given quite a lot of information, and then he said, "Oh, I don't know if I can tell you this." And I was like, "Well, go on, just fill your boots, you know, what's the worst that can happen?" And he said, "Oh, you know," so my granddad that was engaging in the conversation, and he said, "His death certificate's wrong." And I was like, "It's not wrong." And he was like, he's adamant his death certificate's wrong. And you could see this guy's obviously struggling because he's thinking, oh, there's been some horrific mix-up. And
really? That isn't dead at all.
Yeah, no,
somebody else.
It was awful, and he's been killed, and he shouldn't be. But what it was, my granddad had heart attacks, and he didn't believe that he'd had heart attacks. So of course he thought that his death certificate was wrong, because he refused to accept that he'd had a heart attack. So granddad's very mischievous, and the messages that I get through are kind of like jokey ones, like, "Oh, you've been streaming movies again. Whereas they're still very much filled with love, but it's that sense of him is there.
I actually, I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, when I got this message the other week, it was the fact that he came through with his pink suit, with his pink fedora hat on. 2 days after he died, I was in bed, and the door opened, the bedroom door opened, and he just stuck his head round the side of the door and went, just took his hat off. And the big thing was, he took his hat off and just went with it. And what he was demonstrating was he got legs, because he'd had them amputated.
Oh wow!
When he was here, and he got his legs.
Amazing.
But the other thing was that when they amputate your legs, when they give you false legs, they are always shorter than your own legs, so you lose a couple of inches in height. If it's both legs, it's easy to balance. And Tommy was very much saying that I'm here, but look at me, I'm taller because I've got my legs.
back.
It was just lovely the way it was done, and that's the personality thing, which I think goes along with everything that we do. Now then, let's take that a step further, because one of the other things that we've been talking about, not a great deal, but which has come up, has been Reiki. And let me take Reiki out of the picture for a minute and say healing.
Okay.
All right? Because Reiki only means healing in Japanese. Okay. So we're looking at healing and energy there. Now, what's your opinion? What's your take on that? How's that work?
So I've had Reiki in the form of lie down and the energy that's kind of you're not touched for Reiki. Same with spiritual healing, from what I gather, but I'm not 100%.
Spiritual healing, you're not allowed to be touched in our life, not with the SNU anyway.
I've never had.
There's too many feelers, not healers.
I've never had healing within a spiritualist church. I know a lot of people who have. I love Reiki. I'm a huge fan of it. My question over, and this has nothing to do with Reiki, and I had the best one I ever had was a few years back, and I still remember feeling it, and it was just this heat in my stomach that I can't. It was the most. It was a lovely feeling. It was just warmth and like it was glowing. And I kind of half woke up, and she wasn't there. She'd left the room, but this energy just seemed to be flowing. So I don't know what that was, but it felt pretty amazing. But then there was a little bit of me. There's always a little bit of a skeptic that thinks, well, actually, the fact that I've lain on a bed in a dark room with my eyes closed for an hour and I haven't touched my mobile phone or looked at an email or answered a text,
or sent a tweet.
Yeah. I'm totally disconnected from the world. I think that has an equal amount of an impact on you.
Okay, so taking that, so this is complete shutdown rest. Yeah. When we talked earlier on, we were talking about meditation, and you were saying how you're having a problem, blah blah blah. One of the things that became very popular in the 60s with the Beatles and so on was transcendental meditation with the Maharishi Yogi. Some people call it Maharishi meditation. Transcendental meditation is very much a matter of don't let's try and do a specific thing. Don't let's try and shut things out, but it's a matter of drawing yourself in.
Okay. And
actually bringing all that energy inwards to quiet. There's lots and lots of other things involved in that as well. It's more complicated than that, and it all revolves around breathing and taking 20 minutes twice a day out of your day. So you're taking basically 2 sessions in the day to actually calm down. Now, my view of all that is, if we went back 100 years, people would travel between places on a horse or walking or more slowly. They weren't looking at phones or tablets or anything else. They perhaps had something which came by pigeon post or whatever, but they were quiet. They could talk. They could relax. And yet I know you have foot pads and vagabonds and all the rest of it. We've got all that now. But the pace of life wasn't as fast. And I question whether it's necessary to put a title onto this 20-minute break, or whether just sitting quiet for 20 minutes is enough.
I don't think you need to put a title on it, but I think as a general public we do, because we like to label things. And now it's quite cool to do meditation and you know, yoga on the beach at sunset and everything. And that's not necessarily, it's not a bad thing to take time out. I think a lot of people struggle with the fact it feels selfish to a degree. And that's something, as I'm self-employed, that's what I've struggled with. Like, I feel a bit selfish taking this half an hour out for me. When really it's the most important thing that you could ever do.
One of the things they say is, if you don't love yourself, how can anybody else love you?
You can't pour from an empty cup.
I have a big thing about people who do yoga on the beach at sunset. If they're doing their yoga for themselves and they just happen to be on the beach at sunset because that's what they want to do and they want to experience, that's fine. But if they're doing their yoga on the beach at sunset because there's loads of other people around watching them,
doesn't it look good on Instagram?
that is not fine.
Yeah.
I remember being in India watching, I'm just name dropping there, I remember being in India watching the sun coming down, and if in this place, if you see the sun actually touch the sea, that's a special moment. Most of the time, mist rises and the sun disappears behind the mist. But there was a guy standing on a rock in the middle of the water doing his yoga, and I thought, how pretentious can you get? Until somebody beside me said, he's doing that, he does it every night, the same place, with that sun. And even if the weather isn't good, he'd still be there, still doing it, because that's
his belief,
that's his thing.
Yeah.
He wants to do. So in that case I thought, okay, perhaps not so pretentious.
Yeah.
But it's like 20 minutes, and whether or not we've got to have a focus for it or not, I don't know. You're trying yoga at the moment, not yoga, meditation at the moment.
Yeah.
And what is it you're finding difficult about?
Sitting in the same.
Everything.
Pretty much breathing, switching off, not being tempted to kind of go. Have you seen Eat, Pray, Love, the film?
What?
Eat, Pray, Love. It's a Julia Roberts film. It's based on a book by Lady Paul Elizabeth Gilbert, and she goes off, takes herself off for a year. She goes to Italy, India, and Indonesia. And in India, she's at an ashram. And there's a bit where she goes in.
Excuse me, explain ashram.
Like an Indian, it's where the guru lives, so it's like a temple, and it's got meditation.
It's a guru's house.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
And there's within it they've built a meditation cave, and it's got a timer on the wall, which I find bizarre. That's got a timer on the wall, but I don't know whether that's just there for the comedy purposes of the movie.
Yeah.
But she goes in and she sits like this, and then her brain starts going. It's like, why haven't I got a meditation cave? I could have one in my new house. What colour would it be? And her brain starts going, and she wakes up and she looks, and it's been 30 seconds. That's kind of me. I'm kind of like that. So I've got an app on my phone. It's on my phone, with the good bits of it, I guess. And I'm doing guided meditations. Because for me it helps. I'm following a voice that's telling me breathe in and follow light.
Okay.
I'd like to think I'll get to a point where I don't need that. But at the minute I need a voice.
I'm going to take us right back to where we started here, which is with NLP, where you can use language to suggest things to people, and you can get people to do things by using suggestion. And what you're doing, is it not hypnosis?
I don't think so, because it's basically the one that I use, and whether I use a certain one and it's the same one every day, and it's just breathe in light, breathe out dark, and it is just something really simple, and it's words. But can I maybe do it to music? I don't know, because I probably get distracted with music and
Depends on
start
the music.
singing.
I wonder, does it matter that our minds fly off in different directions?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things they do with, or I have seen people do with yoga, is you take each finger and you press it in succession. And which is why you end up with people sitting like that. Yeah? And then you do it back again. And each finger has a different meaning. Now I can't remember what they are, and I might be talking nonsense here, but and this is what I remember. And each one has a different meaning, and you take each one and you breathe to it, and you breathe that mantra or meaning to that finger, and then you move on to the next one, do the same thing again. I should ask my goddaughter, she knows about these things. And you just take, and now as you do that, your mind is obviously concentrating on one thing.
See, and that's what I need. So I haven't got Boris giving it that. I'm not thinking of 100 million different things and what colour I should paint my temple.
I'm sorry. And whether or
Which,
not,
by the way, will be pink and gold in case you're wondering.
oh, okay, right, fine. And you wouldn't have a timer up on the wall?
I wouldn't have a timer on the wall, no.
Okay, fair enough. Right, so if you are going to do that, the question I want to ask, if I could just get it out, is you've got this one guided meditation moment, so breathing in, breathing out, yeah? And the one I used to do was breathe in gold and breathe out silver. You breathe in the gold and you keep the energy of the gold. And yeah, as you see the breath move in and out, do you not find that you can go around your body to different parts, find the bits which have got a little bit of tension in them, and just breathe into that and breathe the tension away?
Have you tried it?
Do you know, there are so many different ways of meditating. And I think I need to throw a challenge out there as to what is the right way to meditate.
Is there a right way? Or is it a right way for you as an individual? Because what suits one might not suit another.
That's another conversation. I think. You're right, you are absolutely right, but it is another conversation. But it does come down to each one of us is a completely different kind of person. But we still have a central energy, and a central energy source that works just with us. No? Yes?
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah? Now then, what happens to that energy when we die? Some people say, well, that's it. Roisy, when he first came on here, the very first train journey we had, Roisy just said, well, there isn't anything.
But there is, because energy doesn't die. Can't die.
Which scientist was it who
just
said
moved.
that? Energy can't be created or destroyed, Einstein?
Einstein?
Yeah. And
it can shift, but it can't die.
so, like a fluid, like water, if you take a glass, a person, and with that energy in it, and if you've got a bowl, which is water, with a load of different energies in it, and you pour the water in, does it all then just dissipate, and do we still have this personality when we die, or are we just dissipated in that water? And if we're just dissipated in that water, how does a medium connect with us?
I firmly believe that your energy, that's your soul, that's what makes you different. Otherwise we'd all be, we look different because all of our skeletons and facial features and everything are different, so we would all look different. But we'd all act exactly the same, have exactly the same. We all live the world very differently because we all see it through reality is 90% perception, and we all perceive things different because of our energy and our belief system. So that's what your soul is, and that's where you go off.
Yeah.
And that goes with you. So it's just this that you see that's left, and whatever happens to that, whether it's turned into a diamond, blasted off to space, or buried under a tree, that's just your physical being. But your soul, which is your energy and your personality, your characteristics,
And we're going to retain that.
That we retain that.
That
And
will stay with us.
that's what I believe, yeah.
That's really, really interesting. And I think, on that note,
On that bombshell.
on that bombshell, yeah, we are in actual fact beginning to draw into a station, would you believe? and our little trip on this train. Becs, I am really pleased that you joined me. It was really good. Well, it's just really nice. It's interesting to actually take a bit of time out and think about. I thought we were going to think about what we've been doing on the train over the past few weeks, but in actual fact, although we've done that to a certain extent, we've actually covered much more than that. We've done many things which are much more important. And here comes the conductor down the train, tooting banging the doors and making sure that we're all ready as we begin to pull into the station. And I'd like to say thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure, thank you.
It's been very good. I'd like to say good night to everybody. And thank you very much for watching the train.